Hi guys, welcome back to another video. And today, as promised, I have loaded Kodak Gold 200 into my Mamiya 645 Super film camera, and I'm trying to photograph Hareshaw Linn, which is probably the most impressive waterfall in Northumberland. Now this first composition, to be honest, I'm not 100% convinced by, but I do quite like the rock ledge sort of leading into the frame, so I'm going to give it a try. I'm a bit concerned about the metering for it, if I'm being honest. There's a lot of dark rock and white water in the equation, so I think it's not going to be that simple. And the camera is saying half a second at f16, so we'll go for that. I think it's actually saying 1 second. We'll go for the 1 second. Mirror lock up. Right, so if you watched last week's video, you will have seen me using this camera with Ilford XP2 loaded. I still haven't got the photos back yet, so I don't know how they've turned out. But I did promise I would try some gold, so here we go. Now I think, as you were seeing in last week's video again, I was unsure about my exposure meter readings, and if I'm doing it right. I'm not sure if the camera's correctly exposing. And ultimately, it's going to be a bit of a leap of faith in this video. I'm going for a far simpler shot here, but unfortunately I've had a bit of sun come out, so I need the sun to go back in really. I'm going to try using a polarising filter because I think that's going to really help. Meter reading at the moment is 1/4 of a second. I'm going to be interested to see what happens. And the meter reading now is half a second. Now, I'm concerned that I've got the sun out, but the sun actually looks quite nice. You know what, I'm going to try it. So, the camera is saying half a second. So I'm going to go for half a second. So that was half a second at f22, which was a bit of a cock up, wasn't it? So I'm going to go, not sure how that happened. I'm going for f11. Which is now basically giving me between an 1/8 and 1/4 of a second. It's gone quite bright. I'm going to go for 1/8 of a second. I'm not really sure these shots are going to be working that well. As I say, the sun's come out. And I forgot the mirror lock up. Oh well. Right, really not convinced by either of those shots, to be honest. Now the sun's gone in, so I don't think I'm going to replicate the same shot. I'm going to go for more of an abstract detail, because that's what was caught my eye when I first came over. I'm struggling to find my focusing point in a low light situation. I'm not sure if maybe I need to change the focusing screen. So if there's any Mamiya users out there and you can recommend a better focusing screen for me, tell me if that does make a difference to the prism. Because yeah, I do struggle a little bit. So a lot of this is going out by the hyperfocal distance, going on what the lens is suggesting is about right. Which I think is about that. Now I am going to take a light meter reading, which is saying f11 should be round about between 15th and 30th of a second. Now, of course, I've actually fitted a polarising filter, so that's going to add an extra 2 stops of, well, it's going to block out an extra 2 stops of light. So, theoretically, probably looking about 1/4 of a second. But if I meter off the rock ledge in front of me, that's like making a bit of a difference. So I'm not sure what to say. It's going to be between 1/4 of a second and 1/2 a second. I'm going to favour actually giving it more light, I think, because obviously we are metering off to pretty much a white subject. I think about 1/2 a second should be about right. Still saying 1/8 of a second, I'm not really sure. Okay, I've gone to f16. I am going to go. The light's just all over the place. It just keeps constantly changing. I'm going to go for 1/4 of a second, f16. Need the light to go. I need the sun to go behind a cloud. Oh, well, sun, what are you doing? Okay, I'm going for 1/4 of a second. I actually think that may be slightly overexposed. I believe Kodak Gold handles overexposure quite well, so I'm going to go with that. I think there's the only way to find out how these films handle, isn't it? And that's actually just trying them out, really. Right, I'm going for another simple abstract. Obviously I've turned the camera back on its side, so I've got to adjust the polarising filter. Got to refocus. Which, as I've explained, I am having small issues with. I don't know, quite a similar shot, this one, really. Meter reading. It's saying 1 second. Okay, 1/2 a second if I go down to f11. Which again, I think is bordering on overexposure. So I'm going to do this one. Stop under what it suggests, I think. So it's suggesting 1/2 a second. I'm going to keep it a 1/4 of a second. So 1/4 a second, f11, polarising filter. Mirror lock up. Right, so I'm quite conscious that I'm hogging the waterfall now, and there's a few photographers waiting patiently to come in, so I think I'm going to leave it here for these shots and from this waterfall. I'm going to head back upstream, see if I can find something else. But yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, some of those have come out. Right, I didn't get very far. I just walked up to one of the first bridges. A few years ago, all these bridges actually got knocked down in a big storm, so they're all actually quite new. Now, I quite like this shot. Again, I'm having the same focusing issue, so if you do have any ideas, anybody out there, of what focusing screen you would recommend, that would be great, because it would be nice to know my shots in focus. So looking at it roughly, that's saying it should be at 20 meters away, which I think is probably about right. Again, it's giving me 1/2 a second at f16. I'm going to do a quick meter reading on that one. Yeah, the meter reading using the Mamiya app is pretty much spot on, 1/2 a second, f16. Far too easy. Dark slide out. Mirror lock up. Half a second, f16, just like that. Right, so I'm a little bit further downstream. Okay, I'm going for 1 second exposure at f22. I'm a little bit concerned about the length of this exposure, to be honest. I feel like that could actually be overexposing, and it could be because we're using quite dark rocks behind. In fact, I'm going to double check it, because it just seems way too long. No, according to this, basically f22 around 1 second should be about right. So I think it's proven that every time the meter reading on my phone and the camera prism finder is pretty much around the same sort of ballpark. So perhaps I need to not worry so much and just let the camera make the decisions all the time. Dark slide out. Mirror lock up. I've actually swung the camera around to a landscape orientation to try this one. I think it may work a little bit nicer. I am really concerned about the depth of field now though, because I'm focusing in the midpoint of the frame, but I think the rocks and the leaves right to the front are actually going to be able to focus. So I'm going to try and manually focus between, and now the back's going, but maybe that's just the way it's going to have to be. So meter reading wise, we're still at 1 second, f22, which you would expect because nothing else has changed. Mirror lock up. Well, you're not mistaken, the landscape has changed. It's a few days later now. I felt like I got the shots I wanted to get at Hareshaw Linn, and the last thing I wanted to do was to shoot film willy-nilly just for the sake of it, taking shots that I didn't think were going to really work. And I'm quite keen to try this film out in sort of different locations, I suppose. Get my money's worth from this roll of film, because, you know, film isn't that cheap. So I'm actually working down in County Durham at the moment. I'm by Staindrop and I'm walking through a local woodland. Not entirely convinced I should be walking through it because it said for the residents of Staindrop only. I don't really see why a non-resident can't walk down here, but you know, I may live to find out that you can't. But I thought it'd be quite nice to have a bit of explore. I've got a couple of hours, see what we can find, and straight away this avenue itself looked really photogenic, but if I spin you round, I'm not sure if you can make it out, but there's actually a car parked down there which sort of killed what I was looking for. But I'm hoping that maybe when I'm walking back to the van I might be able to take the shot anyway. So I'm just going to have a little bit of an explore here. Some nice autumn colours going on. I think it could be quite a nice little test to see how well gold performs with nice autumn colours. I suppose, given the name of it, you would hope it would perform quite well. But yeah, I'm going to march on and try and find my first composition of this new day. So I found a composition. I think it may be my only shot I get here, but I do really like it, so this is good. Basically, I'm using this road here to lead your way straight for the frame. I've positioned the camera in such a way that it's off to the side, mainly to lose the car in the distance. I've got these trees here on the edge, here and here. I've tried to omit any white patches of sky, try and keep everything as unified as possible. I've taken a meter reading which is giving me a staggering 5 seconds at f22 according to the Light Me app, which should allow for reciprocity failure, so it should be compensated for that. So that's what I'm going to go for. I'm going to go for 5 seconds in bulb. Right, I've never used bulb on this camera, so this is going to be a little bit of a learning curve, isn't it? Focused way off. 5 seconds f22, that seems a bit extreme. I'm going to set my timer. Or my stopwatch, should that be. Oh, I'm quite nervous about this one. Mirror lock up. One, two, three, four, five. I have my doubts. So as you can see on the screen, I've got myself another shot lined up. I quite like the tree here and here with a little bit in between. I think it's quite a simple composition. Interestingly, the light meter readings now give me 2.5 seconds at f22, which is throwing me a little bit because I don't feel like the conditions have changed that much from the shot I took down there. So perhaps I'm wrong, perhaps it is a little bit brighter, but yeah, a little bit concerned about that. Dark side out. I'm going to double check the meter reading. Two and a half seconds f22. I'm a bit concerned that it might be because the tree at the front are metering off. See, let's give me 3 seconds f22. That was a darker patch. I'm going to go for 3 seconds. Mirror lock up. Here goes nothing. 1, 2, 3. Well, that was needed 4 seconds to be honest, so fingers crossed. It is a lovely little patch of woodland, but it is incredibly small. So I don't feel like there's a huge amount I can work on. I do really like the view that way, but that car is just really killing it, and it's a real shame because cars aren't even supposed to park down here, so it is what it is. Now, that group of trees there are actually quite interesting. I may see if I can do something with that. Not entirely convinced on this one either. You see, it's quite interesting. 3.5 seconds f22, so not much has changed really. I don't know, I quite like it. I'm you know what, I'm going to try it. I'm here. The colours are looking nice. Let's just give it a blast, eh? I'm going to give 4 seconds, which is slight overexposure, but I don't think overexposure when we're talking sort of into the seconds, in between 3.2 seconds, 3.5 seconds and 4 seconds. 4 seconds, I don't think that's going to make a huge difference. I do feel like I need to get a better light meter, perhaps. I need to understand exposure a little bit better, but you know, this is how we learn. 1, 2, 3, 4. Another day, another woodland. I couldn't find another shot to take yesterday at the woodland in Staindrop. The sun did come out, I did run to the fields. But then unfortunately the sun went behind a cloud and that sort of scuppered my plans. So I decided I'd leave the end of the roll for another shoot. I'm actually not that far from where I was yesterday. I've drove around the Raby estate effectively. And I'm in a piece of woodland around the other side with game with public access. So not that far, but the conditions are quite different. The woodland's a lot more dense, which is nice, but we've got some sun, so that's meaning a lot of dappled light going on. It's just quite interesting, and I think I will quite easily be able to finish my roll off here, which is nice. Now, what I would like to ask you guys is how you're finding these longer videos, because obviously my last film photography video and this one have both been quite long because I've effectively been showing you every single shot I've taken on that roll, and I'm wondering if that's just a bit too much, and I'm wondering if you'd actually prefer it cut down to, I don't know, maybe 4 shots in a video and have it turned to a shorter 15-minute video. I don't know. Let me know what you think, because I'd be interested to see, because one train of thought is I do 1 long form video a month solely dedicated to film photography, and another train of thought is I cut them down into maybe 2 or 3 a month, but shorter. So yeah, have a think about what you would like and let me know. That would be much appreciated. But I think what I'm going to do is, while the sun is out and I've got this whole beautiful woodland to myself, is I'm going to compose my first shot, and I've got a couple of shots in mind. This is exactly the same as happened yesterday. I set up my shot with the light looking nice, and then the light went in. Now, in this shot, I'm more interested in this tree here with the foliage. However, it was nicely backlit, which was making it really pop out from the woodland. Obviously, that meant there was a huge difference in the exposure required for the highlights and for the shadows, but I was hoping that sort of extreme contrast would have worked quite nicely. But it is still looking really nice, to be honest, with the lighting like this. So I may take it, because I think it's going to be a lot easier to cope with the exposure. So I've got my level out, so I can see if I'm actually level or not. Looks about right. I'm loving this zoom lens. It's great having a zoom lens. I think I'm definitely going to get myself the 105 to 210 zoom to use alongside it. I've actually already got myself another lens as well, which is a 50mm tilt shift, which I'm going to talk about in a future video. But in the meantime, I'm going to try and get this shot in the bag. So I'm at f16. Let's see what the meter reading's saying. It's saying 1 second, which I think in all fairity, I would think it seems about right. I'm going to take this, I've got to work really quickly. I'm going to drop down to f11 because I don't want to start getting into bulb. And that light's going to come out really quick, and I want to get this shot before the light comes out. f11, I'm somewhere between half a second slightly underexposed, 1 second will be slightly overexposed. We'll go for the 1 second. I'm actually really liking how it looks. I think actually this could be a nice shot. f11, 1 second. Right, so I've slightly recomposed. I've come a bit more to the left. I've come a little bit higher. I'm waiting for this sun to come out, which is happening, but I think it's going to be really short-lived. So I'm going to get my light meter app ready in place. I'm going to take a meter reading now off the trees in the distance. Oh, well, off a bright patch of the trees in the distance, I should say. Just to try and get an idea of what the meter reading could be. F11, this is saying roughly about 30th of a second. Well, this is going to be awkward. This is saying 1/8 of a second, which does seem a bit too much, but there's actually obviously not enough bright patches in there yet. I'm going to try a meter reading off the ferns in the, which is giving me about 15th of a second f11, which I think probably actually, I reckon that's probably going to be about right. But what I don't want is when the sun does, if it lifts this patch here, which I've got my doubts now. No, there we go. It's happening. So I'm going to take a meter reading. The 15th of a second. 15th of a second f11. That seems actually, I reckon, about right. So I'm going to set it ready at 15th of a second. Camera suggesting 1/4 of a second f11. You know what? On this occasion, I'm going to do what the camera said. 1/4 second f11. Mirror lock up. I'm taking the shot. I think there is enough of a difference from the shot before. I think it is a better shot. It looks really, really nice. I'm really pleased with the composition. Same tree, different angle. It's amazing how sometimes you just find a tree in woodland which you just know instinctively is pretty much going to be your subject. Right, so meter reading is giving me half a second f11. The camera's saying quarter of a second f11. Now, okay, okay, we might get some sun on this one, which means I'm going to have to meter really quickly, but I think it could be quite nice. In fact, I think it could be quite beautiful. This is tricky because the light's changing so quick. But I really am enjoying the little bit of colour in my frame. So the splash of light, there's plenty of colour, but the splash of light, just, I'm hoping I can see how gold will actually perform with a bit of light going on. I just need light in my middle hero tree as such, the subject of the whole photo. And there's a lot of cloud. Just a waiting game. Right, I'm going for it. 1/8 of a second, f11. Not perfect. So I've pretty much come back around to where I started. Slightly different. I quite like the shot. I think this is my last shot of the roll. I'm hoping I'll get some light, but I've been saying that for the last 3 photos, so I don't know if it is actually going to happen. So my final shot is of this single tree here with the trees behind it. It's quite simple. Perhaps not as nice as my tree over there, which I've been photographing, but I think as it's the last shot, I just want to do something a little bit different. Now I'm hoping metering isn't going to cause me too many issues. The camera reckons 1 second, which makes me think that it is going to cause me issues. Okay, so this is saying f11, half a second, and this is saying 1 second. So, you know what? No, it's saying half a second. The metering does seem pretty accurate, doesn't it? I think that's one thing I'm hoping. Obviously you will know because you've seen the photos, but I'm hoping that everything has actually been, yeah, f11, somewhere between 2 seconds and 1 second. I'm going for whatever the meter reading gives me now, which is half a second. I'm going for half a second. Mirror lock up. Just like that. End of the roll. Of course now the sun's just come out, which is absolutely typical. So, oh well, it is what it is. Film's finished, I have no more with me, so I can't do much about it. But guys, I hope you've enjoyed these last 2 videos. I've had great fun doing them. I wanted to just pretty much get a roll of black and white and a roll of colour through this camera to see how it's performing, and I think it's performing okay. I'm going to probably do another video very shortly where I will actually discuss how I've got on with the camera, discuss the photos themselves, and really have a look at where I'm going to be going moving forward. But what I would say is the actual experience of using this camera is, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've loved every moment of it. It is a really nice camera. You know, I hope it's performing okay. I think definitely I will get the other zoom, get a larger zoom, because I'm finding I'm using the zoom quite a lot. I have got the 50mm shift lens, which is in the bag. I wanted to try that today, but you know, opportunities didn't sort of lead to do it. So that may be one that perhaps I'll do quite soon, because I need to try that out. But the camera itself, I think, has performed really nice. It hasn't, I've had no issues, like when I used to use a Bronica and it would lock up on me quite frequently. You know, there's been absolutely none of that, which has been an absolute liberation, as it should be. So guys, what I think what I would like to know from you lot is, do you want me to do longer videos where I just do one roll of film and like maybe take as long as it takes, or do you want to break it down into shorter videos? So maybe we go to various different locations, take 3 or 4 shots there. I think I'm favouring that one, and then do more frequent film photography videos, but shorter, so they're not so intense as these last 2 have, because I suspect these last 2 videos have actually been quite long. So let me know in the comments what you think. Also, let me know in the comments any recommendations you have for Mamiya stuff, any recommendations you have for exposure meters, any recommendations you have for film photography in general. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed these 2 videos. As I say, there will be a follow-up one coming very soon, just looking back at the photos and maybe discussing anything I may have discovered from looking at the photos. But yeah guys, if you enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up, maybe subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'll see you soon for another one. Thanks for watching.